Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the launch day edition of the FPL School podcast. Technically, I'm going to post this the day after it has launched, but I figured I need to talk to Kevin about all the new things with FPL this season before he leaves for Sri Lanka. His brother's getting married and we're both going to Sri Lanka. He's going tomorrow or today as you're watching this, and I'm going in 2 weeks from now just about. So yeah, we're going to be a bit busy during the run up to the Premier League, but we're still going to make a lot of content for both the site and for videos. At least I am going to be. Kevin might contribute at some points, but I figure I should just get his thoughts immediately. So first and foremost, before we go into anything FPL related, how are you doing, Kevin? And what's been up since the last time we saw you, which is quite a while now, because I think it's like all the way back until like Game Week 32 when we did a podcast together or something last season. So it's been like, yeah, since March, April, I think, a lot of months since you were on the channel basically. So how are you doing, Kevin?
Yeah, lots of ups, lots of downs, but mainly ups in terms of football results and in terms of FPL and in regards to my personal life and all that type of stuff. It's just been great. You know, it's been a big lead up to my brother's wedding. You know, of course, you were part of the stag do, so you got to see some of the hilarity and fun moments that came with that. And yeah, just generally speaking, just very excited about Sri Lanka. I'm going to be gone for 23 days, which is no laughing matter. So I just get to, for the most part, relax and just have a nice time, and perfect way to get ready in terms of the launch of FPL with Game Week 1, because the week that I am back in London and in the UK, FPL launches. So, and the Premier League starts, and, you know, back to square one with the football and fantasy.
Yes, it is going to be an exciting time for sure. And we're also going to have an exciting time on this podcast, basically. We're going to go through your initial draft, like your first draft, which is probably going to be quite a bit different from your last draft before the game starts off in a couple weeks, 3 weeks from now, or just about. But first, we're going to talk about some position changes. Then we're going to go into your team pretty early, because that's what most people have come to see, I think, and other drafts and other people, another person's thoughts, someone who's very knowledgeable when it comes to football in Kevin. And then we're also going to go through all the rule changes and all the different changes to FPL since last time as well, because there have been quite a few changes, not only to the rules, which we're going to go through, but also to the UI, like the user interface. And what's your first impression from that? Because there's been a lot of talk about that online. So I don't know if you've spent a lot of time in it, but how do you feel about all the changes to like the graphics and all that stuff in the FPL website, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone who uses dark mode, so for me, it kind of works in that regards, because it feels like a very dark mode sort of thing, and obviously the um, sort of how you do things is slightly different than what it used to be. I might prefer sort of the old way of doing stuff just because I'm used to it, but I don't think it's one of those things where it can't go better. I just think that it is filled with a little bit of glitches. Like I couldn't save my team for the longest time when I'd done like 11, like I was about to do like not a whole 11 changes, but you know, like a silly amount of changes. And I was trying to confirm it and I couldn't. And then like it backed out for some reason, showed me that I had saved the team, and then when I went to go do transfers, it was the old team. So I was just like, which one was it? So
Yeah.
it's experiencing some glitches and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I think it looks sleek and, you know, yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah. There's been a lot of chatter online that it's pretty bad, and I sort of fall towards that side as well. I think it's a bit clunky. Of course, it's new, so everyone is going to be a bit like not used to the new thing, but yeah, there are some changes that could be made. Like for example, when you change, like when you're looking for different players and you're changing from looking from Brentford players to Crystal Palace players, for example, you have to like press save change every time you have to switch between them and stuff. So that's a bit annoying, but yeah, some like smaller stuff like that. But otherwise, like I think it's fine. I prefer the old one, but we'll see what happens in the future. There can always improve it as well. But I do enjoy like the new sort of dark mode theme. It also works out with the new theme that we have here on the FPL Scope, a bit more dark, and yeah, the colors really work out as well for that as well. So pleasantly surprised in that regard, basically. But let's get into FPL stuff. Firstly, position changes. That's the main or the first thing we're gonna go through before we go into your team. Quite a few players have changed positions, 11 in total, in fact. Most notably, for me at least, as a West Ham fan, is Jared Bowen has been changed from a midfielder to a forward. And I sort of get it because he played a lot of striker last season. He basically had to play striker because Fulkrug was injured and Antonio obviously had that horrific crash. But I think this season, I think Fulkrug, like, he was sort of like written off last season as being like a flop and he can never be good. But I think he's going to play a lot of matches for West Ham this season. I think Bowen's going to play on the right wing quite a few times. So, and now Kudus is not there either, and his best position was right wing as well. So yeah, I think that's a mistake. I think it's like overcorrection from what happened last season, but I don't think that's going to be indicative of what happens this season with Bowen. But other than that, I don't really see any like bad changes to the players. But I don't know, maybe you have some other thoughts, like any welcome changes as well. Was there anything that you'd like to see, or is there anyone that you wish had changed position as well that you that didn't basically so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ones that I enjoy obviously are stuff like Gakpo back to a mid. I thought because he has been a midfielder before, right? Is it like he got,
Maybe.
was he, or I might be confusing fantasy games where he has been listed as a midfielder in the past and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the Gakpo one makes perfect sense. Obviously, Marmoush makes perfect sense either way. So I'm not like, I wouldn't have been that angry if he was listed as a forward, sort of
Yeah.
how Julian Alvarez was. But I love that he's a mid now, for sure. I'll take that into consideration in terms of draft and all these type of things. I think Nick O'Reilly makes sense. Nunez, it's a little bit of both, right? Because he sort of cycles from both positions. Cunha makes sense. Gomez makes sense. Bowen makes no sense to me
Yeah.
because if that's the case, then Salah 100% is a forward too, which is not the case. So, but I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, no, he's not a forward. Like even, yeah. So no, Setsignon also is a weird one because he sort of plays left back and left mid, so and left wing. Like he sort of plays can play sort of everywhere. So
Yeah.
I think some of these are more than welcome, and I think more are better than they're worse. So I'm sort of fine with it.
Yeah.
But I do think Bowen being a forward is ridiculous.
Yeah, kind of in agreement there for both of us. We're going to go into your team next, and we're going to go through all the rule changes,
Hmm.
including the controversial 5 transfers for AFCON thing, which you have a pretty strong opinion about. So, yeah, we're going to get to that. Hot take. Kevin has a hot take about African players towards the end of the podcast. That's a bit of a teaser.
That is
Uh,
not at all what has that is not at all what
do you
is
not have a hot take about the
controversial
AFCON transfers?
about the I what
I'm
is my
messing
hot
around, but
take?
we're gonna get to it eventually. But first, we're gonna get to your team and see who you've picked. This is your first initial draft. You have Salah
Mhm.
from Egypt. You have Adingra. But the rest of your team as well. You have a lot of good players. So yeah, basically, just talk us through your team and what your thinking is. Who are like your main stays? Like which players are you certain that you're gonna have? Which players are sort of
Mhm.
more and what do you make of like the whole setup as well? You have obviously a really expensive team with Salah, Palmer, and Haaland. That's pretty expensive to have all those three, so you have to sacrifice elsewhere. But you still have Frimpong and Ait Nouri as well for quite a lot of money. So yeah, what do you make of your own team, and what are like the main issues for you with your team and your main talking points with your own team?
Yes, sure. So in regards to my team, I'm pretty happy with it in terms of a first draft, but I'm also just having fun with it because there are certain players that I would sacrifice. Like for example, Reinders, who I think could be amazing for City, and I think if he gets to play with the sort of freedom that he gets at AC Milan, he's going to be a force. He could be very much like Yaya Toure and stuff like that. However, the one thing that I am aware of is because City are so top heavy, there's a lot more restrictions that could be involved in his play. He could maybe have like the sort of Kovacic run that we've seen, where he was just scoring in games and games and games. And he did that in both Serie A fantasy and in the Champions League for those who played both things. Like I know for a fact, like he's a great player, but I feel like someone like Beto, who now recently got 70 minutes in Everton's friendly, is constantly showing signs that he'll play. Is
Mm.
5.5. So I could
Yeah.
sacrifice Rangers for Beto, which is very likely going to happen. I think in terms of the rest of the team, I feel like Salah and Palmer both might have to stay in the team because they have strong games. Salah is obviously Salah.
Yep.
Palmer, I feel, is just like sort of returning to form again. Like I understand that some people don't put any value to the Club World Cup and that shouldn't dictate stuff and etc. But you really consider things into perspective. He like got assists in the Conference League final.
Conference
He
League.
started
Yeah.
playing well in the Club World Cup, and I think the most important thing is like, which some people would have pointed out if it was the case, is he scored from open play. He didn't score penalties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was more open play goals, and he looked more, especially in the final against PSG. He looked like the Cole Palmer who scored four against Brighton in one half. So I have faith in him to bring it up again. Do I
Mhm.
think in a lot of cases that a lot of people's returns are going to be lessened this year? Yes, because I think it's incredible that we've had so many teams just get better and better. I don't feel like many teams got necessarily weakened.
Yep.
Like, oh, Liverpool lost Robertson and Trent. Okay, we get Frimpong and Karius. Like, okay,
Yeah.
fine. And then now they're in line to get Ekatike, which
Yep.
I personally think Newcastle swindled Liverpool into buying him to basically just because they didn't want to sell Isak for whatever amount that they were trying to lowball them for. But I still think he's amazing, right? Like I think Hugo Ekitike is one of those like mega super talents.
Hmm.
So I think he's great. So Liverpool have gotten a bunch of great players. City obviously have because I think Ryan Cherky has
Yeah.
every right to be in my team as well at
Hmm.
6.5. Doku looked great in the Club World Cup as well, and he's also 6.5.
Oscar Bob
Then
is
you think
fit.
about Chelsea. Yeah, you think about Chelsea, they've gone better. You think about Spurs, they've gone better. You think about Arsenal, they're getting better. And if Gyökeres comes,
Yeah.
amazing. And if they get Eze, you know, like Noni Madueke, I think is the worst signing in the world. I just think 50 million is crazy when they could have just gone a Dinger for half the price. So, um,
Yeah, that's true.
but yeah, if you think about it, like all these players looked well. Sanchez was great at the Club World Cup. Like people make fun of him all they want and stuff, but he kept a bunch of clean sheets, and I think he's now
Yeah.
become Chelsea number one. Whether that will last for the entire season, probably not. But to start the season, I think Sanchez has clawed his way back into being number one. So, um, yeah, I think generally speaking, I'm pretty happy with this team. I think Odogi at 4.5 is also a steal. I think he's going to be and do much better under Thomas Frank. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this team, generally speaking. I think the most important thing that is annoying me now is the lack of Arsenal. And I
Yeah.
know
I was gonna
Arsenal
ask
is
you
one
about
of
that.
those teams that are so 50-50. Either they perform like crazy for me or they concede against Fulham in the 90th minute. Like they do, they are so prone to conceding really stupid goals and stuff like that. Will they improve this year now that, um, the club has reinforced with really good players?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And I
Subimendi's
think
gonna help.
they're going Subimendi's going to help. I think Gyökeres, when he's finally official, will help. Noni Madueke will be able to make these guys like Saka and you know all the wingers essentially just rest more. Like Saka won't
Hmm.
have to play every game against Southampton. Not Southampton this year, but like
Yeah.
Burnley, I guess. That
Sunderland.
in
Yeah.
that sense, like you could never afford to rest some of these players, and I think a that's just indicative of their sort of weird squad depth, which they're finally addressing now by signing so many players.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that's troubling me. Isak not being in the team is also annoying, but considering the fact that I don't know, I don't think these Saudi links have
Nah, I don't think so
um,
either.
any things, but people are trying to say that he's open for negotiations, and if he is, he's a massive idiot. You might as well just stay at Newcastle if you're going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's no surprise that you picked a Norwegian over a Swede, but like that's normal. But what if Gyökeres, for example, joins Arsenal? Would you potentially go from Holland,
100% bring him in.
Holland to Gyökeres and then Isak in as well?
Yeah.
Potentially, double Swedish
Goodbye,
strikers.
Goodbye, Holland. Hello, Marmouche.
Yeah. Marmoush is definitely an option. I have him in my own draft as well. So yeah. But on the
Yeah.
topic of you mentioned the Club World Cup, which was this summer, which is new as well.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do you figure that works out in terms of fatigue and stuff? Do you think these teams are a bit like? Do you think they'll be more sharp because they've played there, or do you think they'll be more tired, potentially longer into the season, or will they be more tired from the start of the season? Like, how do you think the Club World Cup will affect like teams like Chelsea and Man City, for example? Because they do have, on paper, like not the worst fixtures, but Wolves were really good under Vitor Pereira last season. So Wolves away, not necessarily the easiest fixture, and then Crystal Palace as well, played really well last season, and now they're potentially in the Conference League because of the rules about the whole thing with Lyon and stuff there. But Palace also looked pretty good towards the end of last season. So yeah, do you think they could be affected by the Club World Cup immediately, or do you think that's later down the line, or do you think nothing at all, that they'll just still compete at a high level throughout the season?
I think they'll compete at a high level regardless. Like I think a lot of teams, luckily, I mean, I shouldn't say anything considering I'm so happy Barcelona weren't in it and Real Madrid were and went out the way they did. That was
Yeah.
just chef's kiss, right? But that being said, I do think that in some instances, like Holland, like these sort of players that have been missing football these last couple of months due to various injuries and stuff like that. If anything, they looked the sharpest. Like Holland looked great. He
Yeah.
actually looked like the Holland that I triple captain game week two sort of thing. Like he
Yeah.
looked unbelievably sharp. And I think it helped those sort of players get over the hump and finally get into match rhythm, a month or two before they really need to be ready
Yeah.
completely. But that being said, I think preseason starting for most teams anyways, and people have been on preseason. So it's I think yes, at match pace and stuff like that, it's of course tougher. And we saw how that sort of happened because we had Brazilian teams knocking teams out. You had Al Hilal beating City. You had all types of craziness that I probably wouldn't see in a regular season. But that being said, I think it's sort of depends on the players and the teams. But I think most might have benefited from that, to be honest. Like
Okay.
some are then Lewandowski, right? After the World Cup just didn't exist for a little bit. Like there are some players who get affected by these sort of mid-season or um crap, the PlayStation just turned
Preseason
off.
things. Yeah. No, because I'm
Yeah,
thinking
well,
like maybe like if the turn was like leading into the season, then maybe. But I think the fact that it was like sort of an extension of last season, I think that might affect these teams. But I think maybe it will be more around Christmas time when there's a lot of matches, and they would have played a lot of matches throughout the summer as well. I think that's might be maybe more where they're gonna feel the effects. And I think the early season then maybe it will just be a benefit, like you said. But yeah, I think it's something to consider at least. See how they look in the preseason and stuff. We're gonna get at least we're actually not gonna get either of those teams in the Community Shield because none of them won the FA Cup or the league. It's gonna be Liverpool against Palace.
yeah,
It'll be interesting to see how they look in the preseason now as they're playing more preseason matches. But yeah, I think it's something to consider at least, and something that should be talked about in general. But yeah, let's go more into your team in detail. Like the main thing about your team is the fact that you have Salah, Palmer, and Haaland. I think that's very few managers will go that way, but that is typical Kevin.
hmm
That's how you usually play the game. You have no bench and you have 3 premium players. You did last season. You had 4 premium players, didn't you? With Saka, Palmer,
yeah,
Salah, and Haaland, because Salah was
yeah,
a bit cheaper, so you could actually afford that.
yeah,
Which worked out pretty well for you. Like that was a pretty good start because all those players did pretty well in
yeah,
general. It's just you sold,
yeah, yeah,
or did you have Palmer for the 25 points against Brighton or whatever it
yeah.
was? Yeah,
I did.
you did. And Saka was pretty good
Yeah,
to start the season. Haaland and Salah were on fire,
yeah.
so it actually worked
Saka.
out
The
pretty
only
well.
thing with Saka was just his injury sort of ruined everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was pretty early injury for Saka, and
Yeah,
well, it was Ødegaard more first, and then Saka like eventually, right? Or I can't remember exactly, but
I think it was the
yeah.
other. I think like something like that.
I think it worked out for
Arsenal
you,
and
but I
injuries.
think it's sort of like the picks otherwise than that. Like you had Jacob Murphy, who had a great season eventually, but he didn't have a good start to the season, so he didn't really work
Yeah,
out. And then you had to drop Chris Wood, who was really really good, and you were so close to getting him as well.
yeah,
So a couple of like things like that, like other things that made your start to the season not ideal, but I think you still had a pretty
yeah,
good season despite having a really expensive team. And this is what I usually say about like having at least like Salah and Haaland, for example. The reason why I'm sort of leaning towards having both of them, maybe have to ditch Palmer. That's the only downside or the major downside to that. But it's much easier to go from, like, if Haaland doesn't perform and you need to sell him, it's much easier to go from Haaland to Palmer than it is to go from, or Haaland to Saka than it is to go from Saka to Haaland. Because you have to change so many things about your team to get in Haaland if you need to get him into the team. So I think it's generally better to start with both the two most expensive players, being Salah and Haaland, and then you could just go from there. Like, if they don't perform, or if they, like, if you want to move them on for some reason, then yeah, you can move them on. But yeah, I think that's a decent thing. But yeah, what are your thoughts about all those three? Is, like, are you pretty secure in having those three? Is it like, who's the most likely to be sold out of the three? How close are you to selling that third player potentially? Like what are you thinking with the three premiums that you've gone for in your draft?
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously Chelsea have really strong matches to start. Salah, and I thought Holland, whilst matches are sort of inconsistent, it's
Pretty good.
just pretty good. And I think Holland in general has been pretty good lately because I am considering the Club World Cup a little bit into this because I think that form sort of could be taken into the next season. And I think sort of, I think that's the thing that hilariously with two left-footed players in Holland and Palmer, you could see that they were hurrying their shots. You could see that they didn't have a lot of confidence, and I think these are two things that they've just gotten back so much thanks to this thing. So with that in mind, I think I am considering just keeping all three. Holland might be the one that I might shift away from just in case he starts having stinkers in preseason because I don't think, you know, I don't think Palmer, I like his matches are too good to. It's
Yeah.
gonna be him or like a Pedro Neto or someone like that. Certainly not Nicholas Jackson because he's an idiot. But
And Kunku?
if he's about, mate, if he doesn't leave, I'm 100. Of course, I'll always consider him. But I want him at Barcelona, and I hope they can still do that, even though we just got Rashford in.
Yeah. Don't come here with or don't tell Kevin that Nkunku can't fit in the Premier League because
That's
Kevin.
bullshit. Complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. Anyone who says that is fucking lying to themselves.
Bundesliga tax, can't perform in the Bundesliga.
Oh, so now we're meant to expect that both Hugo Ekitike and Marmoush are going to be shit. Oh, sorry, not Marmoush.
Wirtz.
Florian Wirtz.
That's
Yeah.
what I want to talk about as
Marmoush
well.
came.
What do you think about Florian
Marmoush
Wirtz?
came and showed. Man, even Naby Keita once upon a time scored some cool goals. Thiago was great. What are we talking about? Bundesliga tax. Fuck off.
Yeah. No, but what do you think about Florian Wirtz? He's not in your team. He's been a pretty popular player overall.
Yeah, and I'm 100% gonna get him in. Like,
Okay.
I think someone's gonna go. Someone's gonna go, but
But that would be Holland,
basically,
right?
most likely. But let me explain. Florian Wirtz, if you play, like, I know you don't, but a lot of people do. But if you played Champions League fantasy
Yeah.
and you had him during the Bayer Leverkusen sort of Champions League run that they had in the beginning, my God, he would score one goal and still get player of the match. Like that's how good he is. Like he could get an assist and still get player of the match. He could be 0-0 and he'd still get player of the match. Like he is amazing. He is fantastic. And I do not blame a single person for doubling up on Salah and Florian Wirtz because I
Yeah.
think that is a sick double up. I think it will actually work perfectly because it's the same as when we used to have Salah and God forbid Darwin Nunez, or sometimes when we had the Gakpo. You know, it's that fun little double up that Liverpool players deserve to have, sort of thing. And they're the champions. Sad, and it's sad to say that, you know, because I dislike Liverpool winning anything. But yeah, all things considered, Wirtz is amazing.
Yeah.
Like they're like I'm not gonna be someone who's like, oh, Florian Wirtz didn't do anything. He doesn't deserve to go for the money he did. He 100% does. It's not only his current ability you're paying for, it's his talent, and his talent is amongst Germany's best right now. So
The world's best.
what are we talking about? Yeah, and he is
Yep.
genuinely amongst the world best. So
Yeah. But
I'm really annoyed Barcelona couldn't get him. So yeah.
speaking of Liverpool, you are an Everton fan, currently wearing an Everton jersey, and you do have Mikolenko and Diaya, and you're also adding Beto to the squad, like you just said.
Yeah.
So tripling up
Yeah.
on Everton. They do have leads away. They do have really good matches to start the season, which is why there's a
Yeah.
lot of intrigue in their players in general. But as the Everton fan, talk through the players that you have already and you have considered from Everton, like Mikolenko and Diaya. Beto, like how do you see them fitting in the season? How do you see the season under David Moyes, a full season under the Moisaya? Like, we both know how good of a manager he is. So yeah, what are your expectations for Everton? Clearly pretty high.
We are
And
lifting the Everton Cup. We're gonna come seventh.
yeah, seventh. That's your hot take.
No, that'd be amazing if we could do that. But no, genuinely, I think we're gonna finish top 10,
Yeah,
maybe 10th, but top 10.
could
More than happy with that.
could
And
be.
if we go for the Everton Cup, why not? I think Everton get a lot of stick for how things went, but people forget just the crazy amount of injuries that we had, and we were playing, we were virtually playing netball whilst everyone else was playing football, whilst Sean Dyche was coach because we weren't playing football. That was not the same sport. Because what the hell was that? Because the minute Moise comes in and assistant manager, rest in peace. What a chip because I had David Moise and that worked out fantastically. So
And we're back. Sorry, some technical difficulties there. It is about 30, 100,000 degrees here in Oslo, so my PC keeps overheating. We actually made it for half an hour before it shut down now, but we're going to keep talking about Kevin's team. You were just in the middle of talking about Everton, waxing lyrical about how David Moyes is the savior. He's going to make Everton better again. And yeah, you're going to do really, really well. So yeah, keep going with Everton. What do you feel about Everton this season? And also more specifically the players that you've selected in FPL as well, Mikolenko, Ndiaye, and then Beto as well. Now you've frozen. You're overheating.
no, I'm just kidding. I was just standing very still just to see if it works. No, but okay. In regards to Everton and our chances in terms of just Everton are sort of a feel good team right now, and I've been enjoying just being under Moises' tutelage again. So that's why I'm showing a little bit of love with the Everton players and specifically NDI, who's on penalties and just looks great and is just Skillyman for a reason, right? And Mikolenko, I think, is just because I feel that
Skilly.
he is so nailed at left back. Otherwise, I would say if Jake O'Brien is playing over Mikolenko, I would 100% say go for Jake O'Brien. It's just that Jake O'Brien was a makeshift right back. So it's very hard to say whether he'll
Have you signed a
specifically
new right
start
back
there.
though?
We're looking at some players. That's the issue.
Okay, because you've lost Ashley Young, or like lost Ashley
Yeah.
Young.
Oh
So
my God. Thank God. Anyways, and so obviously that's the reason why I've gone with Mikolenko because he's so nailed at left back. But generally speaking, Beto's also in consideration because Beto. He's fast. He can score with both feet. Can score headers. He's just phenomenal and so cheap. And I think that's the biggest reason why Everton players are very correctly valued in some sense and undervalued in other ways.
yeah,
So I think it's perfectly fine that people think considering Pickford because Pickford's always one of the best keepers to have in the game. Usually he's a cheaper option, but now he's sort of like a premium-ish option because he's 5.5, which is going to annoy a lot of people. But I still think he's a good choice to have a goalkeeper because goalkeepers, generally speaking, you want to free up those funds for defenders anyways. So it's okay that he's not six. It's perfectly fine that he's 5.5 because he's good enough to be that. But generally speaking, Everton just have a lot of fun fixtures. They're my team. Of course, I'm going to have some of that representation in there, even though it might cost me points. But yeah, I think that's also part of why I have them in the team.
fair enough. I find it interesting with Everton the fact that Branthwaite is the same price as your starting striker in Beto, which is interesting. But yeah, just on the topic of Beto as well, like just quickly, like they Everton have signed Tierno Barry, or however you say that name in French,
Yeah.
as a striker who played quite regularly for Villarreal last season and scored quite a few goals. So yeah, what do you think about Beto's like playing time? Do you think it's under threat at some point immediately later on in the season? Like how do you feel about the new striker they brought in? Because he's pretty highly rated. I've seen people like say that Arsenal should go for him and stuff. So it's a pretty good signing. But what do you feel about the playing time for the strikers?
I mean, the thing is, there's a age gap between the two, so I think it's more that whilst I think Barry's much more not inexperienced, but obviously the raw talent out of the two. I still think Beto is going to be number one, and I think the
Yeah.
you're going to start seeing more of that in regards to the preseason. You're going to see that Beto plays like 70 minutes per game, and if that's going to be the case, we already know who the starter is going to be. And I don't think that's any disrespect towards the new signing. It's just more Beto is the one that helped Moyes keep his job in some sense too, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's a mutually beneficial thing. Like Beto sort of reignited his Everton career because people thought it was dead and buried. People thought he was
Yeah.
going to go to like back to the Serie A and all this type of stuff and go back on loan. And he ended up being better than Calvert-Lewin. So yes, Calvert-Lewin was injured to hell and blah blah blah. And I can't wait for him to join West Ham. But
No.
he's 100% going there. Just don't just
No.
embrace it at this point. And yeah, I gotta back him because at the end of the day,
You
that's
have
just
always
what I
backed him as well.
yeah, 100%. I don't understand why um we would want to get rid of someone who wants to be there. Like you get what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he has always been sort of like an Evertonian and all this sort of things, and trained with the old kits and stuff like that, like way before he joined us. So he clearly likes the club. He clearly likes being here. He just doesn't
Hmm.
want to be pushed out. Fair enough,
Yeah.
and that's why Dice can do one. I can't tell you enough how much he just ruined his own perception at the club. He
Yeah.
should have just left when he kept us up, and that's that, because everything just went straight to hell. But you know what I'm gonna also say to him? Thank you so much for Dwight McNeil. What a player.
That is true. Gordon McNeil has been really good, and he's still pretty young, I guess, as well. He's
Yeah.
someone that you're always surprised by how young he is.
Hmm.
But yeah, but when it comes to Beto, I think he is kind of like the new. It could be potentially the new Antonio for Moyes, where Everton bring in
Yeah.
striker after striker, and just he keeps playing, keep playing, keep playing. That could be the case. We'll see what happens with him, but yeah, I quite like him, and for 5.5, I think he's a steal. I don't think people are expecting him to start, especially FPL as well, since they priced Barry at 4 point or 6.0, and they
Yeah.
priced Beto at 5.5. They weren't expecting that, and a starting striker for Everton is pretty valuable for Moyes. So yeah, I think Beto is a really good shout as well. So yeah, he's going to be exciting to have in your team as well. But yeah, also the final thing I want to touch upon is the defenders, because you have picked two 6.0 defenders. There's quite a few
Hmm.
6.0 defenders. No one who's higher than 6.0 in defense. No 6.5 defenders, no 7.0, no 7.5, no 9.0 like people wanted Trent to be a couple seasons ago. But you've picked two. You've picked Frimpong and Aitnori, which is interesting. You picked the fullbacks. Despite the rules, which we're going to get to pretty soon as well, the new rules that are sort of seem to emphasize the center backs getting more points because it's more defensive actions rather than attacking threat that is rewarded from the bonus points or the extra points that you get from the CBIT, whatever, clearances, blocks, interceptions, and tackles. But you go with Frimpong and Aitnori. You have Gabriel as like your on the cusp defender, someone you nearly had in your squad. Guardiola is always like question, Guardiola or Aitnori. You have Kukurea who's 6.0, who looks pretty good. Last season he was really good towards the end of the season. What do you think with the 6.0 defenders? Like, are you locked into having two of them? Do you think you could change which ones they are? Like, what do you feel about the 6.0 defenders in particular?
Yeah, I'm quite indifferent about it. Like, I don't think it's that unfair in that regards. I think it certainly prices you out from picking anyone and everyone, which might be a good thing to see some variety from various teams. And I think, yeah, so my 6.0s might not be the same as your 6.0s. Like, I think that's a fun thing
Yeah,
rather than it's just, oh, we all have to sacrifice an arm and leg for Trent and this and that. Now it's just like, yeah, it's pretty good equalizer. I think very clever as well because it will make people tear like even though I personally think if I Nuri starts every game, I think he's a standout just simply because
yeah,
I think he can get some
so
easy goals
attacking.
and assists.
Yeah,
And like it's crazy how selfish he is. So, and I don't know
yeah,
if he can get away with that shit at Man City because
yeah.
Pep is gonna be like, okay, now I'm gonna play Nick O'Reilly
Nunez
again
or
or Rico Lewis. So like
yeah,
all this bullshit. So, in my opinion, I still think I'm gonna go with these crazy fullbacks that
yeah,
can get crazy goals and assists. Whilst I think that's a good equalizer to have that center backs can get more because for sure I think like Salibas and players like that who do really well defensively sometimes don't get the love because their actions weren't so heavily influenced in terms of bonus points at times, and that'd be frustrating and stuff. So it's cool that they have that idea, but I still think that these fullbacks can get these sort of points and
Yeah.
things too. And I'm sure you'd rather take the assist than continuously rely on some potential defensive, unless someone's just like Virgil van Dijk, sort of like just crazy much better at interceptions and etc. But it's cool. It's cool to see that the Premier League and fantasy, generally speaking, is more influenced by other games because these are all types of things that have existed in, sort of the World Cup, Euros, and Champions League fantasy and Serie A and Allsvenskan, Elitserien, and all these fantasy teams or fantasy games have all used these sort of fun extra bonus points for attacking and defensive actions and stuff like that. So I think it's really cool, and I think it's also really cool that generally speaking, it's gonna tear us apart because like someone will go for Van Dijk and then he'll score, and then one week it'll be Frimpong and he scores, and they're the same price, so you never know which one you should go with unless you see consistency, which is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, Van Dijk is also 6.0. You also have a couple other 6.0 defenders as well. Quite a few
Hmm.
different players there.
Yeah,
And yeah, a lot of good options there as well. Like Guardiola and Gabriel are really popular picks for good reason as well. So
yeah,
going to be an interesting season. And Frimpong, I think also like he is stepping into the Trent Alexander-Arnold position, and he's not the same price obviously, but he is super attacking. And Aitnuri as well. Both those guys basically playing as wingers sometimes, which is kind of crazy to think about as well, especially playing for Liverpool and Man City. Compared to not being an FPL like Frimpong was, or playing for Wolves like Aitnuri was, like their potential is sky high. So I do really like the upside there for you. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that you have 4 starting defenders who are all fullbacks, considering the rule changes, which is what we're going to talk about now. Well, that's how we're going to end this podcast. We're going to go through all the new rule changes and talk about how we like them, how we don't like them, or are indifferent to them, I guess. So first and foremost, we are actually on the subject with the SBIRT or the SBIT. Like there's no good acronym for these things. It's a shame that it wasn't headers rather than recovery, because that would have been a bitch. But yeah, we have SBIRT and SBIT for now, or DEFCONs as people say, defensive contributions. I guess that's maybe the easiest way to handle them. But yeah,
yeah.
basically the new rules is the fact that a defender who reaches a combined of 10 total clearances, blocks, interceptions, and tackles, or CBIT, in a single match get 2 FPL points, and they're also capped at 2 points. They won't get 4 FPL points if they do get 20 of these things put together, for example. So it is capped at 2 points. Not really that big of a deal. It's not that big of a difference, but over the long haul, it can make a world of difference. I think Tarkovsky, for example, who's now 5.5 for this reason, he got like 40 extra points or something from these defensive contributions. So yeah, it could actually be like a huge benefit sometimes to have these types of players as well. But
Of course.
I also think like FPL have sort of priced these players accordingly. Like you see with Tarkovsky and Brantwaite, for example, they're 5.5. You see Declan Rice is 6.5, Rodri is 6.5. Like all these players that could potentially benefit from this have sort of gotten a price rise as well. So I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes. I quite like it. I think it's interesting that they try a new thing and see how it works. But they also have sort of fixed it already with the price changes. But I think this is more interesting. For example, like in my team, I have Maxence Lacroix, who is one of the top 10 contributors or one of the top 10 in defensive contributions last season in terms of getting these points. And he's 4.5. Like there are some 4.5 gems, I think, that could really benefit from this, playing for good teams that could potentially do what Nottingham Forest did last season and surprise everyone and be super good defensively. And all of a sudden you have like a 5.5 valued defender for 4.5, which is amazing. So yeah, those are my quick thoughts about it. There's a bit of a difference between defenders and midfielders. Midfielders have another thing when it comes to ball recoveries, which makes it CBIRT, CBIRT. Instead, but they also need to get 12 of these in total to get 2 points rather than the 10 that defenders get. Attacking players, sadly, cannot get any points like this. But yeah, how do you feel about the change? You talked about it just recently as well, right before we went over to this section. But yeah, does this make any difference to your teams, basically? Like, will this affect
No.
how you choose players? No?
No, I don't think so because you still need to, like, is these points worth it to sacrifice, like you said, a fullback who will do attacking contributions because they're just that skillful. Like Frimpong, who, if you look at his like, oh, Bundesliga attacks, whatever bullshit, um, people need to remember he's actually a better defender than Trent is,
Yeah.
and he's actually a bit more of a natural goal scorer. He's not as lethal when it comes to a cross, but he'll still get plenty of assists. Like people forget that Frimpong on average for the last 3 seasons has managed to get 10 goals contribution or more. The only time he didn't was most recently, but this was Leverkusen's most down year as well. So I think, and also Wirtz was injured and they'd been riddled with injuries throughout the season. So to say that and, you know, still be what 6.0 and still able to get these sort of extra points as well. I think it's a no-brainer personally. Of course, a center back who's going to face challenges from strikers and all types of stuff is going to be more likely to get these sort of things. Um, you know, I played fantasy games where you got it for every three, I believe. It was either three or four interceptions, and you wouldn't breach 10 or 12. So like I think it's also you're putting way too much weight towards something that is very unlikely to happen in that regards. I'd say like
Yeah. It
I
happens quite a
I
bit with some players.
some players are just and some teams are going to just be very good at it because they're defensively minded or they're just constantly on the under the caution because they have such good defense they're able to keep it. So yeah, but I would never sacrifice my fullbacks because of it. You know, like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna go like for me, if Ait Nouri and Guardiola start every single game, I still think I'd pick Ait Nouri. Just
Yeah.
like how I would pick Frimpong over Van Dijk.
Yeah. Man, that is fair enough. But at the end of the day, it is just extra points. But it also
Yeah.
is something that I think people could potentially like overvalue again. Like they could be just like,
Hmm.
oh, fresh new thing. This will be something important to me. Like I need to do this and do whatever everyone else is thinking and stuff. So yeah, I think people could potentially overvalue it, and just because it's new, they'll be interested to have players that do contribute defensively more.
Yeah.
But I think it could also lead you away from the guys like you talked about Frimpong and Nightnori and those guys who can get a lot of points elsewhere as well. So yeah,
Diego Costa
interesting.
would have been amazing for this role.
But he's a striker, so it wouldn't work. So sadly,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I mean,
yeah,
they
also
know he could technically get the ball recoveries thing, right?
no
Isn't that for forwards?
forwards are not part of the thing. It's just midfielders. Oh no, actually for forwards as well. It does say
Yeah,
for
exactly.
midfielders and forwards. Sorry, that's
Yeah, yeah.
my
Yeah.
mistake. Sadly.
So Diego Costa
Yeah,
would have been amazing for this when he was playing for Chelsea as a
yeah,
defensive forward.
yeah. That's true.
He created a football manager position in defensive forward because he used to do that. So stupid. Anyways, yeah.
That's fair enough. But yeah, that's that new rule change. We do think it's interesting. We'll see what happens with this
Of course.
across the season. Defensive center mids like Rodri, Rice, are those guys ever in your consideration? They're both 6.5. Like, could you see yourself going for Rodri? He did score quite a few goals and assists before he got injured last season.
I feel like there's going to be a more expressive 6.5s. I think
Yeah.
Rice and um,
I think the 6.5 midfielders are pretty weak this season
I mean like
and
Shirky
below.
6.5,
Yeah, that's true.
Doku 6.5, like that.
Oh,
Those
6.0 is the bad number actually. 6.0 and down is pretty bad, but 6.5
yes.
actually there are some decent options.
Yeah, and I think those are sort of the players I'd lean towards because, but I guess in terms of consistency and I guess in terms of knowing these players will play, of course, availability is just as good. And of course, Rice and Rodri are starters for both of their clubs. So yeah, I don't, I'm not going to demerit those two. And I think Rice especially had a pretty interesting season last year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more like what you're going to end up doing, like people did with Enzo Fernandez, just bench him, and then you'll maybe get in a random score because someone didn't play. So
Yeah,
I don't think I would like just because there's something that adds defensive bonuses and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to tailor me to pick defensive midfielders. Like people are like, oh, Caicedo's going to be a mega. No, man, you still need guys who can score. You need like Charlie Alcaraz for 5.5 million.
yeah. he could be good. He had some really nice
Oh my
numbers from a
God.
few matches,
Yeah.
so he's definitely someone to consider as well in midfield.
I think
But yeah,
5 contributions in 7.
that's it for defensive contributions. I think I did think I have one more point, but I forgot about it. So let's move on to the
Cool.
next thing, which is the chips, which is double the chips from the past seasons. Not just the wildcard, all chips are now doubled. You have triple captain for the first part of the season, you have triple captain for the last part of the season. Free hit, the same, one free hit in game week, through game week 1 through game week 19, and another one for game week 22 through 38. And then 2 bench boosts as well, which is super annoying because I don't like the bench boosts in general. But yeah, it seems like you're pretty indifferent about this. It's going to affect the game quite a lot. So yeah, what do you think about this rule change? Are you pro, against, indifferent? What's your thinking about this?
Kind of boring, to be honest. People are like, ooh, oh, they shook it up and blah, blah, blah. It's kind of boring. I kind of wish they, instead of, I am one of those sort of managers, instead of doubles of everything, which is what this is, I wish they had just done more variety
Yeah.
to really shake things up. So, like, for example, didn't I thought originally I was going to hate the assistant manager chip, but I thought it was quite fun. I
You got a lot of
understand.
points from it, so yeah.
Yeah, of course. But I think it was a fun little shakeup. The thing that I didn't like was the restrictions that came with it. I think it should have just worked as like a chip separately sort of thing that you just got to freely pick a manager, and that'd be kind of like a fun thing. But I think this is just I don't know, man. Like it's I guess because it's everyone's got the same usage of everything and etc. And just with anything, if whatever, you
Yeah.
know, like I think it's a bit boring that it's like pigeonholed into these two halves and all this type of stuff. Some of the craziness, like for example, some of the fun elements of the fact that you didn't have caps for these sort of things was like triple captain. When people triple captain um Holland against Southampton, for example, like that is hilarious. You're gonna see less. I feel like when you have it like this, you're gonna see less of that, people
What?
being
You have 2 of them.
more. I know, but I think people are
You
gonna
can
be
captain him against
targeting
Southampton
this.
and have a double game week captain later on as well.
Of course, of course.
Or
But
not
what I
Southampton,
think
Sunderland.
is, I think we're all gonna like even more so. I think a bunch of people are gonna triple captain similar players. I think more
Really?
back then when it was sort of when it wasn't restricted like this, we're gonna see. Yeah, I think in terms of, I mean, of course, you have some people who triple captains of my game week 1 and to try and get first in the leaderboards and stuff like that, of course. But I don't know. I I think essentially I'm indifferent, but I also think it's a bit meh to have the same things, uh,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
wanted more chips. So what kind of
twice.
chips were you
Yeah.
looking for potentially, like as additional chips?
I mean, in terms of like some of the ones that I love from other games, like Limitless, for example, from Champions League, where you can just go, or Rich Uncle
Free hits
is
with
the same
unlimited
thing, I
money.
think. Yeah, like stuff like that is just really fun. I think I really like some of these like auto captain ones, which I think is really cool. Like imagine like in a game week where it's just stacked and you auto captain it, and then it just purposely picks the best score and stuff like that. Like he will
I think that
purpose.
would be very universal. Like everyone would use it in a double game week when several
Yeah,
players have double
yeah,
game
of
weeks.
course, of
So
course.
I think that would be more
But
susceptible to that issue.
yeah, but um, and also I also think yeah, there's so many different ones that I'm trying to think of. Like I like the one there's some like which are crazy that you can field whatever formation you want and stuff like that. Which I think is just bananas. Like you just go like, but of course you can't even do that because of, or no, you can do it. It's just that it changes like so you can have only 2 defenders if you wanted to, and just like completely go
Yeah.
midfield and attack and stuff like that. So like just I don't know, just more fun. Like I liked the system manager because of something new and something fresh. Whilst
Something that earned you
and
points.
and of course, like triple, I like triple captain when it first got introduced. Some people like hated it when it first came, and I'm like,
Mm.
why? It was
Long
something
time ago.
fun.
You're revealing your
Free
age here,
hit.
Kevin.
Yeah, free hit, same thing, because free hit wasn't really a thing back in the day. It was just, what was it? It was just wild card and bench boost. That was essentially the two mainstays, right? From the
Yeah.
get-go. And then triple captain eventually got introduced. And yeah, so I think I'm more for variety than just having to do the same things again in the second half. Of course, it's an equalizer. Of course, it means that you can make amends to the things that you screwed up in the past. But nah, man, variety is king.
Yeah, they did actually. Like I asked ChatGPT now about when the different things were introduced, and triple captain and bench boost and all out attack apparently was introduced in 2015-16.
Cloud attack. Yeah,
That's
okay.
that's the 253 thing you mentioned,
Yeah,
and then that was replaced eventually with free hit. I think I remember that as well back in the day. But yeah, we are
yeah.
FPL veterans, so we've gone through this before. Second wildcard was in 2010-11. That seems a bit early, but yeah, I don't know. But anyways, chips, meh, you say. We'll see how it
Yeah.
affects the rest of the
What do
season.
you think?
For me, I think it's kind of gimmicky. It's just like double the chips. Like it's, I don't think it's like that thought out really, and I think it's also kind of a little bit too late because we don't really have that many double game weeks and stuff anymore either. Like there's not going to be any double game weeks, but I guess that's the fun of it. I think sort of opposite to you when it comes to like variety and stuff. I think just because there's no double game weeks between game week 1 and game week 19, you're going to have a lot of different options to who you're going to triple captain in those game weeks. There's a lot of good players that play against like the weaker teams. I actually made a tweet about this. So I'm going to just look it up now while I'm talking. But there are some really good options. Like you can go early, game week 2, Saka against Leeds at home. That's pretty good. You have Palmer against Sunderland at home in game week 9. You have Haaland against Burnley at home in game week 6, or Leeds at home in game week 13. It's his homecoming as well against Leeds. I don't think, was he in the, yeah, he was in the league. He played against Leeds in the first season. Was he? Or have Leeds been down since he came? I don't know. Can't
No,
remember.
yeah, no, that's correct. I
Has he not
believe
played Leeds?
he has played Leeds.
He has played, okay.
Yeah,
Then it's Salah against Sunderland in game week 14, right before AFCON as well. He leaves in game week 16 or 17, I think. Sunderland at home is the best fixture of the season, so I think that might be where most people go there. But Haaland is also really good. And then Haaland against Sunderland at home in game week 14, so that's going to be interesting. Salah against Sunderland at home in game week 14, Haaland against Sunderland at home in game week 15. So yeah, Salah against Leeds against game week 19 does not work because he is going to go to AFCON there, which is something that we'll get to as well. But we have one more rule change before we move. Yeah, chips. I think it's a bit gimmicky. I think it's interesting. There's more variety, but I think chips also are kind of, especially in single game weeks, they are kind of just like random. I don't think it's that much skill based. It's just like you said. You mentioned Haaland last season against Southampton. He had his highest XG output. Like he had so many chances, and he got only 1 goal and 6 points from that game. And then he scored a hat-trick against Ipswich in game week 2, which is like, of course, that was a good game week to triple captain him in for a single game week. But the Southampton fixture was just as good, but he was not out of form at that point, basically. But yeah. But yeah, those are just my quick thoughts about the chips. I'm gonna go more into it as well, like more like tactics. You could go like all out with the chips pretty early as well. This season, people are talking about bench boosting in game week 1 now because you have 2 bench boosters, bench boosts. That's obviously not gonna be the case for you with your Threemium team currently. But some people will be tempted to do that as well. So I think that's interesting. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I'm sort of indifferent. I don't really know quite how I feel about it yet, but I am going to look into how you can use your chips best for the first 19 game weeks, especially because that's the interesting part where there's no double game weeks that you can use them for, basically. But yeah, those are the tips. Let's move on to the second or the third to last thing. We have the new assist rules, where previously we've had a lot of discussions, or FPL community wise, there's been a lot of discussions. Is this an assist? Should he get the assist there? Will he get the assist? We'll see. Have they added it? They added it for Son, then they removed it, then they added it back. Like they have seemed a bit confused when it comes to assist rules. But now they basically just simplified it. Like any pass that is deflected by just one defender and then reaches another player on your team and he scores inside the box, I should add, that's an assist. So yeah, we've seen in the past, we saw Alexander Isak, I think it's the most famous example, where he dribbled past like 8 Everton defenders, passed it into the box, but it went to Callum Wilson on the back post rather than someone else in the middle where he actually was aiming. But he definitely deserved the assist in that case. But I think there's also going to be other instances where you do pass it into someone who's, or you try to pass it to someone and then it goes to someone else because of a deflection and then they score. It is kind of lucky, but I think it's just easier to basically keep track of, basically. And I think that's the main thing with FPL. I think it should just be easy. It should just be immediately you should be able to celebrate an assist when you get it. So I am positive with these changes. I think a lot of people are positive when it comes to the assist rules changes as well. I think it's going to be less confusion. It's going to be more assists, more points, more reasons to celebrate it, more reasons to be happy to celebrate and be confident that you're going to get the points as well. So yeah, those are my thoughts. What do you think about the new assist rules in general? Are you happy about it? Is it not really that big of a deal? Like, what do you think?
It's terrible. They're trying to ruin the game of fantasy, trying to ruin the game of
Woke
football.
nonsense. Sean Dyche.
No, it's obviously perfectly fine. I'm for it. I think, if anyone, I would have been the one campaigning, and I did campaign for this because I thought it was extreme bullshit that there are certain assists where you can clearly see, even if it took a slight like deflection or something. I sometimes think even if he was the intended target, they'd rule it off because it took a deflection or something like that. So I am for it. I think that's perfectly fine, especially inside the box. And I think if you strike it outside the box off that one touch, it should count too. Is that something they've
I think that's
considered?
what
Or
they mentioned. Like, it doesn't really say much here in terms of that, but I think like the video I saw with it, they had like an example from Man United. I can't remember exactly who scored it, but it was someone like got the ball outside the box
Bruno
and shot it.
Fernandes Cavani?
No, something from this past
Just
season, I
kidding.
think.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case. I think it's like inside the box, but I'm not quite sure. That could be like the one
Yet
controversy.
another case of biggest bullshit ever. Oh, you really gave that assist when it would have been offside if he had touched it? Really? Really fancy? So yeah, no.
Yeah,
I think this is a very welcome change for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I think it just makes it easier. Like, it's easier to follow, and yeah, it's just more fun
Yeah.
for me as well. So yeah. Another thing is kind of more boring, just like bonus system changes. Not just bonus points, but bonus system, like what counts for the bonus points. Obviously, the player that gets the most bonus system points gets 3 bonus points. Second most gets 2 bonus points, and third most gets 1 bonus point. Sometimes there's ties and stuff to make a difference there. But I think it is some welcome changes, some changes that I'm not quite as fond of. We can go through them one by one. First one is goalkeeper saves. They made a differentiation here. If you save, again, it's outside, inside the box. If you save, if a goalkeeper saves a shot from inside the box, you now get 3 bonus point system points rather than just a 2. Outside the box, if you save those shots, it's still just 2, which I think is fine, because there are, like, usually when I watch goalkeepers that I have, I'm just like, please shoot from outside the box, please shoot from outside the box, because usually that's just an easy save and you get bonus point systems points from it. But now you actually get extra points. You don't get less from shooting outside the box, but you get more from shooting inside the box, saving shots that are really close to the target, which I think is a welcome change. I don't know about you. Do you think that's a decent change? Do you
I
not
think
care?
it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit confused about the penalty goals thing.
Yeah. Penalty goals usually has been like, obviously that has just followed. There has been no such thing as penalty goals. It's just been goals. And they do
Yeah.
differentiate strikers. When they score goals, they get 24 bonus point system points. Midfielders get 18, and defenders get 12 bonus point system points. But now they differentiated it between goals and penalty goals. So penalty goals counts the same for everyone. And I think that sort of makes sense. Like, if you're getting a penalty and you're Leighton Baines, why should you get less points for scoring that penalty than if you are Harry Kane, who's the first to come to mind? If you're Haaland and scoring a penalty, like, why should you get more rewarded just because you're a striker for scoring a penalty, which is the same action? Like, I sort of get why they have it differently. Like, defenders get bonus points for different things, like goal and clearances, which we'll get to pretty soon.
But
Uh, yeah.
my counter argument, just quickly into
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
is, but do you not think it's fair considering the fact that forwards get less points per goal? They get
Maybe.
more bonus points. They get more bonus
Yeah,
points
but
to
that's
make up the
regular
fact.
goals. Yeah. They still get
True,
24 BPS from scoring a regular goal.
sure, which is cool, but okay, fine. I guess the penalty goals thing, but I understand why there was such a thing because they get less points for goals, but they're
Yeah.
getting less points because they're more likely to score. I get that too, obviously. So
Yeah.
I understood the tweak is because, you know, I understand why they had the original tweak. I think this is more fair, to be honest,
Yeah,
because it differentiates penalty goals
yeah.
specifically. So
Because
that's fine.
I think you've had this thing before. Like you've been like, surely this defender who's been like up and down, doing assists, doing a lot of things, should get bonus
Hmm.
points. But then there's just
Yes.
some random guy who gets a penalty and scores, and then he gets all 3 bonus
Yep.
points because he did nothing and then scores a penalty. Like
Yeah. And I
I
think
think it makes sense.
that is more fair. But I also think that that should also be that they should reward more points to defenders for doing offensive things. It shouldn't just be
Yeah,
they're defenders, so they should only defend. No,
yeah.
if you know if a
If you get
guy
like
get
3 assists, then you should get some bonus
yeah
points if you're a defender.
yeah
Yeah,
for example
or
in a
or
three
goals
assist
for
but
that
big
matter.
for example in instances where a defender loses a clean sheet but went absolutely insane offensively, they can still get docked bonus points
Yeah,
because of the fact that they conceded one goal, or even in like let's say it's like a 6-3 game where they conceded 3 goals but contributed really well offensively. They will still get hunkered down because they conceded goals. So I think that's where, but then again, that's where I think a lot of things need to be tweaking because bonus points have been a really annoying thing for me because when a player sometimes even gets man of the match they don't get the 3 bonus points.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I can actually agree with that. I think maybe they should just raise the bonus point system points for defenders scoring goals. Like 12 is
Yeah.
not that much at all. Like if you
Yeah.
score a goal, even if you're a defender, that's really valuable. Like it is
Hmm.
super valuable still. I get why you differentiate like forwards need to get more because their job is to score goals.
Yeah.
But I think it could be more equal in that sense as well. So we've seen defenders who got like 2 goals and 1 assist, and then they don't get bonus points just because they conceded a couple goals,
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily even their fault because they might be playing as a wingback or something like that. But
Yeah.
anyways, but yeah, I kind of welcome that change. The next one, goal line clearances, it has gone from 3 BPS to 9 BPS to do a goal line clearance, and it sounds a bit dramatic, like it's 6 more BPS. That's quite a lot, but goal line clearances are really rare. It doesn't really happen that much. I think like throughout the season, I think like the highest in terms of goal line clearances get like 3 or 4 goal line clearances across the 38 games pretty much. So it's not really that big of a change, but I do think actually like that this might be the rule change that I'm the least for actually, just because I think it's a bit random again. Like it could be like you have like your attacking player who's done really well, scored a goal, you're ready for his bonus points, and then all of a sudden, just because some random guy stands on the line and gets shot at straight into his body, he gets 9 BPS just because he got hit. Like some goal line clearances are really nice, really like heroic, where you like do a really good job defensively to stop the ball from going into the goal, but sometimes it's just luck as well. So I think it's like there is going to be some instances this season where a defender just luckily stands in the way of a shot and gets like bonus points from nothing basically just because of this change. So I think 9 is a bit excessive, maybe 6, maybe a little bit more, but not quite as much as 9. But again, it happens so little that I don't really care that much. So yeah, I don't know what you feel about that and goal line clearances and stuff.
Goal and clearance has barely happened, so
Yeah, it doesn't
who
really matter that
cares?
much. And then finally,
Yeah.
again, more bonus points to the defenders, more points for the defenders that actually play defensively. Tackles 1 is now 2 BPS. There's no minus anymore. Usually it was 2 BPS for tackles 1, but you also, if you tried a tackle and you didn't make it, if you got a tackle lost, you'd lose a BPS. Like they tally it up in the end, like how many tackles won compared to how many tackles lost. And then that gives you the bonus points basically. Now they just removed like the tackles lost. It's just successful tackles. If you do 15 tackles and you do 10 of them successfully, that's better now than in the past when you would have had more points if you did 7 tackles and none of them unsuccessfully basically. So again, a minor change, but sort of more in line with the center backs and defensive midfielders,
Yeah,
which is what they're trying to push, I guess.
which and I think the other way around sounded actually quite fair.
Yeah. Again,
That it rewards you for being a good defender, generally
yeah.
speaking, not just someone who just flies into tackles and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And like you said, tackles lost, that's Trent Alexander-Arnold right there.
Yeah. He's not here anymore, so he's not going to benefit
I
from
don't
that.
know.
Paul Scholes as well. So many unsuccessful tackles. He would have loved this rule. But he
Oh,
was a bit
Stevie
too late.
G, legend.
Stevie G as
Anyways,
well. There's some old school players that would definitely benefit from this, but yeah, again, it's not that much. It's like you remove
it's
one
it's
minus BPS from tackles
it's
lost.
whatever.
Like
It's
it's
whatever.
fine. Yeah, but anyways, those are the bonus system changes. There are I think there was one more maybe that isn't listed. Maybe I don't know, can't remember. But anyways, doesn't really matter. This is like really minutia things. Most people that play FPL will not think about this for 1 second, but as
Yeah,
FPL nerds, it's our job to do this. So yeah, some discussion about that as well. And then finally,
sure.
the most controversial rule change saved for last. We have the African Cup of Nations AFCON, which is a huge tournament. It's really nice as well. Like I am looking forward to it for around December when it's going to happen, because it is usually a really fun tournament to watch. But what happens for AFCON is the fact that all the players from the African nations go away and they don't play in the Premier League, of course. And we get from like game week 16 to, was it 19, 21 or something like that. We don't have any players participating in AFCON in the Premier League. And what FPL has done there is that they've actually given us, in game week 16, you get 5 free transfers, regardless of how many free transfers you've saved up. If you've saved up 4 free transfers, you get 5. If you have used up all your transfers, which is what we're going to do now, you still get 5 free transfers to accommodate this and to change your team around. And I think basically it's just going to be because you have Salah in your team and he's super expensive, you're going to be able to sell Salah and rework your team a little bit and have sort of like a mini wildcard of sorts. So it's another, you have double the wildcards, which has always been the case, to be fair, but you have double the free hits, more transfers there, and you get 5 more transfers for AFCON to navigate all the players leaving for the African Cup of Nations, as you can see here, illustrated by Ait Nouri and Salah, who are going to play for Algeria and Egypt, respectively. And you can sell them and buy stuff, buy players like Kukurea and Saka with those free extra transfers. So a lot of people were mad about this and said that, oh, it's ruining the game, it's holding your hand, it's too much help, no long-term planning. That was like the consensus. From my sarcastic tone, you can sort of feel, sense what I think about this. I think it's perfectly fine still. And you have some strong opinions as well. So where do you lean? Do you think it's an outrage? It's terrible that we have so many free transfers? Or do you think it's just a fun new thing that you can do that will help you out in AFCON and for planning, basically?
It's a shit. Well, I don't understand the vitriol that's come for this one thing. And I've seen so many different creators, people like football Twitter, just people bitching about it. Like, oh my God, you're not Nostradamus because you saved 4 transfers. Like, who gives a shit? Like, we all get it, you know? So everyone gets the same equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? You're
Everyone
not
knows.
cool because you saved a transfer, okay? Like, go minus like the cool kids do. So, in that regards, like, I personally don't care. I welcome it. Great,
Yeah.
fair enough. And um, I don't think it hurts anyone in that regards.
Yeah, and I also think it's kind of the
Yeah.
opposite, because the people that are not watching FPL and are not like super into playing FPL, they're probably gonna forget about, like, during the hectic Christmas period, they're gonna forget about the game and they're gonna have 5 free transfers saved up and they're not gonna use them because they're not gonna be be watching and like thinking about like getting new transfers. They're not gonna be aware of it basically. And us, we all of us who know about this change, we will all use our transfers in game week 15 and change our team up quite a bit. So I think there's actually a lot of planning with this that comes with it. I think it's actually an interesting change, and there's going to be a lot of different things happening there. I guess like the one drawback is the fact, like you mentioned with other rules, like it might just lead to everyone having the same teams, like the players that are doing really well at this moment in time. Everyone will just sell Salah and buy whatever, Florian Wirtz if he's looking really good, Bruno Fernandes if he's looking really good. Like, we might just get a lot of the same teams for this. Maybe that's the issue. Like, there's less variety in the teams, but I think that's like the one drawback. I don't really care. Like, it's 5 transfers. It's not that much. It's not unlimited free transfers every single week, which I would have something against because that makes it more random. I do like the long-term planning aspect of FPL, but I think this could also work its way into long-term planning. Like, you can have like a plan for maximizing points. You can go like you can do a lot of different things with this new rule. So, and again, this is not really even a permanent thing. This is not going to be an African Cup of Nations next season after this one, so we're not going to have the 5 free transfers there. So it's not really any like foundational change to the game as we know it for the foreseeable future either. We'll see how it works out this season, and then maybe the next time African Cup of Nations comes around, maybe people will have liked it, maybe people will have disliked it, maybe they change it, maybe they don't. I don't know. So for me, not that big of an issue. Yeah. Any closing thoughts over the whole rules, FPL, anything you want to say before you get the last word, as always?
I think it's just one of those things where no matter what they do, you won't have like people will be unhappy either way.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of credit to them in some regards because I think personally, I'm not 100% sure the structure for how they've done the double up thing will even exist next year if it has bad reception. So I think people just need to keep that in mind that from time to time the game will be slightly different to what we uh, like or expect. And, you got to give them credit for it because it's trying to get more engagement and all this type of stuff. And so for me, I'm not completely against it. If it's like complete, like ruins the game and it makes it boring and all this type of stuff, fine. But I don't think there's been that many game breaking things that people should sound like they're trying to never play the game again. That is the sort of things that annoys me that they're like, oh, they ruined the fantasy game that we're playing. Like, really? It's not that bad.
Yeah, you're not a fan of that at all. So yeah, I know.
No.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. Looking forward to the season in general. It's going to be a different season with a lot of the rule
Hmm.
changes and stuff. And we're going to have a lot of time to talk about it as well. And especially amongst ourselves, we're going to chat a lot about FPL teams and how we do different things. So yeah, we'll see when we see you next time. I do really want to talk to you at some point about all the new players because you're basically my go-to when it comes to international football and every player in the world joining the Premier League and how well they can do. So I want to do that at some point potentially if we can get to that while you're in Sri
Now we
Lanka. But
can sort something out, I'm sure.
yeah, so we'll see if we can get something like that out of the way. But yeah, figured I just should check in with you with your first draft and all the rule changes and how you feel about them. And now we've done that. So without further ado, let's leave the last word to Kevin, as always. Let's see if you're a bit positive. Maybe you've changed. Maybe you're going to end on a positive note this season rather than a negative note as you did, like condemning everyone. Or maybe you stay the same. Who knows? Your last word, Kevin. Go. Frozen. No.
No. Just going to say this. Frimpong is locked in my team.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. With that, thank you. See you. Bye bye.